Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Door with Jeremy Hilton, Brandon Brown, and a team of fabulous people who make it do what it do with us. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for listening in. Thanks to everybody across the country and even in some obscure parts of the world that we recently learned are listening to the podcast. Thank you for listening in, but tell your friends about it. You know what I mean?
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Tell your friends about it. But thank you. And then we'll give you another thank you for telling your friends about it. So we're here with a good friend of ours, Bruce Moore, on this episode today to talk about a really special thing that happened recently and also just learn more about Bruce, who's a pretty amazing guy with a really great story for everybody. But we recently, last week, actually took the prison door to Washington, D.C.
Oh.
And we did a little D.C. tour with the door. We went around all the
DC tour
with the door.
with the
Bruce
door.
Moore.
Bruce Moore on the DC tour with the door. And we went around and we took some pictures of the door in front of the national monuments. We had some really fascinating and interesting conversations, including with a Capitol police officer who was now one of my favorite people because of how cool he was with us, and had some pretty powerful interviews with some people in front of the Supreme Court. Just a really awesome trip. And Bruce came down to DC with us, and I think it'll be really great, Bruce, for you to tell the listeners and the viewers about how you are connected with Jeremy and I, and why you wanted to come down to DC for this experience. But first of all, man, introduce yourself.
Bruce Moore. The reason I went to DC, first of all, I was asked. I never thought that I would ever go to DC. So I got down to D.C., and two things happened to me down there. First of all, I got to find out a little bit more about our country. And secondly, I had overcome probably one of the biggest things in my whole recovery, I think, down there. And I kind of went into it, but then I kind of snapped out of it. It was like a total change about what I was feeling, and through the people I had there with me, Jeremy. I remember sitting at the table and going, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? You got to come the fuck out of this, And I did. And I remember the next day, it was a perfect day. We went to Senator King's office. And we talked to him, and what I really liked about that guy, he was really welcoming, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he was willing to listen. And when we brought up the parole issue, he was I think he was for it, and of course, I have to be me, and I have to sit in his desk.
Yeah.
And then where were we? Jefferson's Memorial.
Yeah, we went to
and I remember carrying the door up the stairs, and I'm thinking to myself, it's pretty fucking cool, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got this prison door in my hand, and I have been behind many of them. And when I think of the door, I think of hate, sadness, lack of not caring about anything, and probably including myself, and so many nights I'd cry behind that door. And so that door and doors like that have a big learning lesson for me, after doing 35 years behind a cell door somewhere, through this country, down a lesson. And I finally caught on to the lesson. I finally learned after 59 years how to juggle life.
Yeah.
And to do 35 years and come out here and act normal, it's pretty fucking hard sometimes,
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, life's good. And I'm not saying it's easy, because it's fucking not easy, but it's worth the trip, It's really worth the trip. And I'm glad I went to D.C. I'm glad I got to learn a few things down there with good company, and that's about it. That's why I went.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I think like let's pause and then do like a flashback real quick, because I remember Jeremy told me a story recently actually about the three of you, the three of you, about you and him and a good friend of ours, Chucky.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have the context even myself about how you and Jeremy knew each other and how you guys got close. And also, so, you know, maybe both of you can tell people listening about how you know one another, like when you met, and then also definitely talk about what you're doing now, with Jeremy, for work, and kind of like why you were situated to get that invite. So I don't know if you want to start, or Jeremy, if you want to start, but like how did Bruce Moore and Jeremy Hiltz meet?
So we was in Knox County, and I think it was Jeremy and I and Scooter living in this little pod. And then I don't remember, it was so long ago, I don't remember what happened. And the next thing I know, I see him up behind the wall in Wyndham. Jeremy, you guys, you take it from there if you want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was, Bruce is a lot older than me. He's I would say he's getting to be geriatric, geriatric age, right?
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
It's just a fact, Bruce. You know what I'm saying? It's
I ain't gonna carry that door.
Yeah, he did. Man. He did a great job doing that. You know what I mean? But but I was younger. You know what I mean? I think I was in Knox County Jail because I was it was the first. I was young. I was getting bound over as an adult, and I was 17 years old, and I was getting ready to move into the adult system, and I met Bruce there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was. I think I always remember Bruce's hair was a different color. You know what I mean? And he got it back. You know what I mean? He got it back and stuff, and he would. I can remember him sunbathing in the yard with like he put baby oil on himself and like sit back and you know, he'd look at you with one. He'd be on the wall with the sun. He'd look at you with one eye would open up. What are you doing, kid? You know what I mean? That's what I remember about Bruce. You know what I mean? But yes, I've known Bruce a long time. You know what I mean? And yeah.
What did we do on your birthday? Oh, we went to the commissary and got a special. That's right.
Yeah, actually, Bruce and I and Chucky Pettigrew, who's passed away now. Bruce and I smoked a joint on my 21st birthday at the corner of the yard in Wyndham.
Yeah,
behind the wall.
Yeah, we were behind the wall.
Nothing to hide. You can't hide behind anything.
No, it's literally a square. So for people listening, behind
culture back
behind the wall at the prison they're talking about, it's literally just a square yard. It's four walls. There's nothing. Like there's
a parking lot.
It's a fishbowl.
It's still
literally a fishbowl. You got 73 windows looking at you. There's nothing to hide behind. There's no way to. So you're just standing out in the open, 21. You and Bruce Moore and our good friend Chucky, just smoking a doobie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was the beginning.
Well, that was the beginning, but then I I went my way. I got sent out of there. Maybe I got out. I don't know. And then I didn't see Jeremy for a long time. And when I got out of prison, July 21st of 21, of course, I started my bullshit again. And I ended up in Lewiston, Maine, of all fucking places. And I remember I was standing on the corner at Hope Haven homeless shelter, and this van goes by me, and they're all yelling my name. Like, who the fuck are these fucking guys, right? Enemies. So, and then the next day, Kevin Collins got a hold of me and said, "Where you at?" I told him I really didn't know where I was at, and he says, keep walking, I'll meet you." Brought me up to the rest center, which is part of Arcom, right? The rest center. And I'm sitting there talking to Kevin, and Parker walks in. I start talking to him, telling him what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Sends me upstairs. But anyways, they kept saying this guy, Jeremy, he's kind of like he's a really busy guy. He might be a little grumpy. Right? Who the fuck is this fucking guy, right? And it turns out to be Jeremy Hiltz. I'm like, you fucking kidding me right now? And and then I went right into a sober house. I think I stayed at the homeless shelter probably 7 days, and I went right to Lincoln Street, and then it's been a pretty cool cruise. Yeah.
So so I mean, I think it's amazing you guys have so much history, and you that wasn't the only time that you guys were together, right? Like in one of the prisons.
I don't know. Was we at the prison together?
Oh yeah.
We was, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you go, I mean, however many years ago, Jeremy says he was 17, so that was like, what, 20?
I'm 45.
All right, so
So it's 20, that's 26 years.
26
like,
years ago.
like 28 years ago.
Yeah.
And so you meet 28 years ago, you see each other, you do some time together here and there in Maine's correctional system. This last time that Bruce is in, he comes home struggling. Jeremy, comes into Jeremy's program, but what are you doing now?
So now, since I've been in the program for like 28 months, I manage a sober house at 64 Highland Ave. The job is challenging. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but you grow. And I do transports. I bring the guys to IOP every day, and I pick them up every day. And then hopefully in a week or two, I'll be moving to a new building that Jeremy had bought and go over there, live in my apartment. I got a little apartment over there, manage that place over there. But yeah, I'm doing good things. I'm doing really good things today, I mean, I'm not kicking in the door and I'm not shooting coke and if I'm not doing that, I'm doing pretty fucking good, really.
Yeah. I think like listening to this, like the story of you guys meeting and just hearing kind of like little pieces of your story, Bruce, like the thing that I'm thinking about the most, and because I know this about you, like I know that you've done over 30 years in the system and it's been split up, right? It's been in multiple states, it's been in multiple prisons, for multiple different things. And I can't help but think to myself with the work that you're doing now, like how many people in society think that like a second chance is a second chance and that's it, right? That there shouldn't be a third chance and a fourth chance and a fifth chance. But from listening to your story, it seems like no matter how long it takes, right? You're finally you're at a place in your life right now where you just said like life is going pretty good and you're in a job that's doing amazing work in the community with other people so that they don't have to have the fourth or the fifth or the sixth chance, right? So, what does that mean to you even though it might have taken you a while, and I can't even imagine, the wealth of information and knowledge that you have about our system that we're talking about, right? Recovery and incarceration and reentry. But how does it feel for you to be out here doing the things now? And, when you talk to people about your story, what would you tell people about why you have to continue to give people chances because everybody's capable of finally getting it together?
I tell people that you have to give chances because I had a million chances, you know what I mean? And on my millionth one, I got it, you know what I mean? So when people say, you only getting one chance, you're getting two chances, so what are you going to kick them while they're down, right? Give them another chance because that one more chance, they might get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as far as what I'm doing today with the guys at my house, most guys at my house, they just want somebody to listen to them, right? And I don't mind doing that. And, I think to myself, I got 13 other guys in the house that I listen to all their stories and their worries. And then I got my own.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes for that with me is kind of what I enjoy listening to them. You know what I mean? And that's all they want is me to sit down and listen to what they're going through. They don't want me to say anything. They just want to get it off their chest. And I don't mind doing that. I kind of enjoy doing that. When a guy says to me, "Hey, Bruce, thanks for listening. It meant a lot." That makes what I'm doing worth it.
Yeah. How important, Jeremy, do you think like that to have people like Bruce in that role? I mean, that's a huge thing. A lot of people are the worst listeners, right? A lot of people professionally are terrible listeners. A lot of people in therapeutic environments where they're supposed to be good listeners aren't great listeners. And how pivotal is it to your program to have people like Bruce with this lived experience that can actually do that?
Well, it's critical to how it's like a community, right? Everybody like the way our program works, when the guys move through it, some guys want to stay and you know, help out, be a house manager, and like, you know what I mean, like as and help the community grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Bruce we had talked about him taking on this role a little while before. You know, maybe, I don't know, it was a little while back, and then he did such a great job working on himself and you know, going through his own recovery and stuff like that, that he's in a place now where he can do that. And that's where the power comes from when we're working with other guys, is that, like, you know, Bruce knows how important it is for somebody to be able to get something off his chest, you know what I mean, in those particular moments. So, and he also knows, I don't need to really say much. I just need to connect with this guy and let him do his thing, move on. And then he also knows the importance of the structure of the house and like how important it is to keep the house safe. You know what I mean? Because you know what I'm saying? So it's, and for me, you know, I have known Bruce for a long time, but like, you know, I didn't start our program and stuff like that for anything but like us, you know what I'm saying? Like for guys that are in the same situations that we have been through, because, you know, you're tired of seeing people die, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, so it's crucial to have, you know, I mean, this is a community, there's no titles, you know what I mean? Like, I do this thing, I can have these, you know, credentials after my name, things like that. It don't mean nothing. What we need is connection. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's really about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, it's really kind of, so as this story is going on, and it was also Bruce's 60th birthday. That's what he didn't mention when we were in D.C. You know what I'm saying? So there's like this whole thing. This is the same way I spent my 21st birthday with him, locked up. You know what I mean? And then there he is, 60, and we you know, he was in D.C. with us, you know what I'm saying, and I got to experience his thing, 'cause I don't know it's what's actually going to happen with his door, or like where this whole thing's going to go, you know what I'm saying? But what I do know is that I watched Bruce carry this fucking door up the Jefferson Memorial, you know what I mean? I watched Bruce sitting in Angus King's desk, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I saw these things that, like, it doesn't matter what happens next, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, to have the shared experiences with people that I was down with, and like, you know what I mean? There was no seeing ourselves in that way, you know what I mean? And to be able to experience that with people in that, you know what I mean? It's just, it was a very cool experience for me. It was a, you know, and that's, really why, you know what I'm saying, Bruce is a leader, you know what I mean, and you know, that's part, it was like almost part of that too, you know what I mean? It was like,
it is the cool, it really is, like, to hear you talk about it, and then for me to even reflect on the trip, it's like it's the coolest shit in the world, man. Like,
there's a lot of, it was powerful.
It was super powerful, and what people can't possibly, I don't know that you can understand as a viewer or as a listener. But what we really want to convey is, like, we don't ever have an actual plan. Like, we had one plan going to D.C. with the door, and it was understanding history, right? Understanding the context of where mass incarceration starts, of where so much of our country's, like, pivotal history exists in these oppressive systems like prison. And then we also had the fortune to, like, have some conversations with Senator Angus King's office about the potential of speaking with us, because we do want to start talking about the need for legislative national reform to start fixing our system. But, like, beyond understanding that DC is a cool area that a lot of people go to, and it's got some, like, pretty big symbols of quote unquote freedom that we wanted to take some pictures with, we just, like, we wing it. And so there's something that's so special and powerful in winging it because of what you just said. Like, I literally will never forget the three of us carrying that door up the stairs. And there's, like, quite a few stairs because the lift was broken, carrying that door up the stairs to the Jefferson Memorial, and the having people, like, stop and watch us and walk by us, and having conversations at every monument we went to, and we were explaining to them what we were doing, and, like, being really open with people, like, yeah, we're a bunch of justice impacted people that are trying to change things through this, like, random ass piece of art that is a prison door.
Well, and I think that the thing that really in that, like when people were asking about it, when I showed them pictures of what we were doing, and they saw the door and they started taking pictures of the door with it. You know what I mean? It was like people get, you know what I mean? People are gonna get this. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen because it's so powerful. The image of it, you know.
And it symbolizes so much. And like one thing with your story, Bruce, that I'm just sitting here, like I'm just kind of sitting with right now, is like, you know, you were talking about the importance for continued chances and the need for people to be heard. And like, that's literally, there's nothing about being heard that exists in our system, right? Like when we think about our collective experiences through the system, from arrest, you're told that you have the right to remain silent, and you're almost encouraged to do so. Like, I mean, not almost, you are encouraged to do so. And then you go through the process of whatever plea, a trial, sentencing, incarceration. You're never heard at any point during that process, right? And when I think about your story, and I think about you saying that I had chance after chance after chance, and then I hear about you talking about, you know, like seeking help this last time, and it just so happens to be Jeremy that you find, and it's somebody that it like gives you space, compassion, hears you, recognizes your humanity. And I think about all the different bids that you've done, and I think about your story as well, Jeremy. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, we've talked about trauma, we've talked about these things before, but like, why do people think, like for you, Bruce, why do people think that it's going to solve a problem to continue hurting somebody more, right? Like, it's like, if I stab you, I'm never going to try to heal your wound by stabbing you in it again. But that's what so many people go through, and what you said is like, it took you a while to get it. And it almost was like, because you got to that point where you're fed up, you've been beat down by the system so much, but that's not a way to create anything positive, right? So, you know, in all of your time that you've been in and out of the system in multiple places in multiple states, like, do you ever feel like when you went into a jail or a prison that it was even possible in that environment to really say to yourself, like, oh, this is the time I'm going to figure it out?
No, not at all. Once I'm incarcerated and I'm settled into a prison, I'm going to do my time. And when I get out, I'm going to do the same bullshit. I didn't have no plan. I knew that was the plan. You know what I mean? The plan was for me to, you know, when I get out, do drugs, do crime, die out there, or die in prison. That was my plan. So when I looked at the end of my life, when I'm sitting in prison, this is the end of my life. This is where I'm going to die.
It's crazy to hear you say that, right? Because, and this is, I think, like the whole point that I'm making is, you know, for a very long time in your life, your plan was to die on the streets doing drugs or doing crime, or die in prison. And now here you are, you just turned 60 years old, in like on a trip with us in DC. You know, I think for every single one of us, it was like we have our own reasons and our own descriptions of why it was such a special trip. But I hear, like, hearing you talk now and knowing you, it's like, but at some point your plan changed, and it was no longer to die in prison or to die out here, you know, criming and doing drugs, whatever. And that's the part that I really want people to hear, right? Is you did make a change. That's a stark contrast from just settling on, I'm going to die in prison or I'm going to die in the community doing crime and drugs, to now, not only have you decided that's not what you're going to do, but you do work that's really impactful in the community so that other people don't have to go through what you went through, which is, you know, decades of telling yourself that that's what you want to do. I just want to commend you for that, you know?
Well, I think at the time when I was telling myself that, that's all I did know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to work. I knew how to steal and do drugs. That's all I knew how to do. And going through the system, you know, back in the early years, you know, they locked you up. When your time was done, see you later. They didn't teach you anything back there. There was no jobs back there. Yeah, maybe sweep a floor. But I mean, that's all. I didn't have any experience in any jobs. I mean, for me back then, I loved to steal, and that alone was a high for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had to get into recovery, not only did I had to kick the habit of drug use, but I also had to kick the habit of the feeling that I got when I did a crime, when I was in somebody's business or in their home. That high right there is probably better than any high I think I've ever really been on, and I love that. So I had to kick that and the drug use, and not do crime, and so it was kind of like it was kind of like a rough road for me when I first got out. And I'm gonna tell you, when I first got out, I didn't want to be out here. I remember telling Billy,
Yeah.
I want to go back. Fuck being out here. Out here sucks. I didn't like it out here. And then, one day I remember standing in the kitchen, I'm cooking a steak, and I look out the window, and it dawned on me on that day that I was free.
Mm-hmm.
I was fucking free. I could walk out that door, and I don't know why it took so long for that to dawn on me. And from that day forward, things started changing, and I knew, and I kept hearing that if just wait, do the right thing, wait, and your turn will come.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's what I did. I waited, and I did the right thing, and I did what I was supposed to do, and my turn came. And so anybody out there listening, it's not going to happen in 3 minutes, might not happen for 6 months, might not happen for a year, but that's okay. Just wait. It will fucking happen.
Yeah. It's funny because when I hear you say that you had that acknowledgement that you were free, I think it's probably deeper than your physical freedom. I think that you had found freedom from a lot of things just based on what you had said before, right? Like some of those addictions and habits and just ways of being and ways of knowing that you described. I think that's probably what you realized in the moment that you were finally free from, is not just the cell. You're not just free from being behind the door. You're also free from, like you said, the grip that things that you previously knew had on you, because people took the time, a community took the time to show you that there's something different. And I think I think we probably all have that moment where we realize, like, there is something else for us out here. And I'm going to say, and I would be interested, if you're listening and you disagree with this situation or this statement I'm going to make, our email is behindthedoorme@g. No, what is it?
Behind the door, Maine.
Behind the door of Maine, the word.
Yeah, and Maine.
Okay.
What how would we spell it? Maine.
So behind the door of Maine @gmail.com. Email us. Also, if you just have ideas for episodes, email us. Or if you just want to tell us that we suck, email us for that too. Who cares? But if you disagree with the statement I'm about to make, I think that you should email us and we'll talk about it on a future episode. But I think that almost every person, like maybe 99% of people who come out of prison at some point early in their reentry, says exactly what you said, Bruce, which is, I don't want to be out here. This is hard, right? I felt a lot of positive things in prison, which is probably a whole other topic we should talk about. But like, I still go through it today sometimes where I'm like, my life was so much less complicated when I was in prison. And then I have to literally look at myself in the mirror and say, what the hell is wrong with you? Because life is beautiful, and the freedom is so much more than just being on the other side of the door. It's so much more than that. It takes pivotal life moments to teach you that life out here is beautiful, and sometimes it's beautiful because it's hard. And sometimes life in prison feels really easy and doable, and that's actually why it sucks, because it is. But that's my, potentially controversial statement. I think that the vast majority of people who get out of prison, especially if you've done any type of significant time, and by significant, I mean like a few months or more, that there's going to be a moment where you say to yourself, my life was easier on the inside. And I think that's how we know that we have a broken system, right? That's how it has to be a sign of that.
Can I before you say that, I just want to, because in the beginning, Bruce, you started talking about the trip, right? You started out talking about the trip. You said there was these two things that happened to me. One was there was a beautiful thing I learned about the nation, all that stuff. And then you said you had one of the toughest times you ever had. And I think I want to ask you this because Brandon's bringing up a lot of good stuff, and I think contribute to what was going on for you in DC that you had such a tough time with. Like what were you struck, and maybe not necessarily like any detail, but what kind of feelings were you dealing with, and like how do you think they came here, and like do you think they're related to what Brandon's talking about?
I love the trip first of all because I like to like get away. When I got down there, and like the second day, this feeling was so fucking strong that I didn't feel like I fucking belonged down there or anything. And I wanted to fucking drink. I wanted to get fucking drunk. And I don't know what the feelings, I think it was like maybe abandonment, maybe left the third wheel. I'm over here, the crowd's over there. And it was probably one of the strongest feelings I had that day. I was fucking confused. I didn't know what to think, and I thought the only thing I could do is get drunk, right? And I remember you and I was in that restaurant. I come up and talked to you about it, and the look on your face like made me step back and say, "What the fuck are you doing?" And within a couple minutes, I kind of like snapped out of it, I think, you know what I mean? And I don't know if this is good. I don't know if I buried all that shit in me until the next time. I don't know what happened to it, right? So I mean, I got over it. I got back to, Bruce Moore again. But that feeling down there it's not fucking good. I don't know what the word is for it, but it's like you don't fucking belong. You don't belong down here. You're not with the right people and shit like that, right? And I don't know what fucking caused that to happen. I don't know what caused that, but it happened. But the important thing about it is I didn't drink. I got back to Bruce Moore and I carried on with life. But, I've done a lot of time, and sometimes I act a little fucked up in the head. I'm sorry, that's the way it goes. But, you go down in certain prisons down south and come out, you're not going to be the fucking same, You're not.
I appreciate you sharing this stuff, Bruce, and I think it's important that, like, to recognize that, like, when even, you do that much time and you've been through the experiences and the trauma that we've been through and some of the things that we had to deal with, and even in the middle of these beautiful moments, it pops up on us. Sometimes we don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
And it was like the trauma. That's why I was saying it kind of relates to what Brandon's talking about. Like, weird, you know what I mean? Like what, and it also really highlights the importance of like what we were actually doing. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the things he said was like, I got over something that I haven't ever, like I got over something, right? And that, like, to me, was like it was like almost a perfect scenario for this to happen, right? Because it's like something comes up, it's like super emotional. I don't know what happens, but we all learn together in this moment. Like, oh, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And then we oh, it helps us to reconnect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to have people around us. But I mean, I think it's important to add to the significance of this trip, right? Is for the things that Bruce had gone through in the prison to be out here in D.C. You know what I mean? And it's a reminder. That was like a reminder of the battles sometimes we have with mental health and substance use and stuff. And it's like, and it can come at any time, right? And it's like, it's ramifications of long-term incarceration.
Yeah, and it's a battle of inclusion too. That's like one thing that I don't think that people talk about enough too. Is like, Bruce, you're saying that you felt out of place and you couldn't really name why you felt out of place, and it could be a million different things. And it's controversial statement alert. I already told you the email, but like I think everybody who gets out of prison feels out of place more often than we don't. Because we know how society talks about us and what they think about us. And dude, I have no idea if this is what you were going through, but now that I'm thinking about it for myself, like I remember we were driving in the truck and I was like, look at all these people, how fancy they're dressed. Like, look at every single person I saw had a suit on. Every single person I saw had a dress on. Every single person I saw. And my first thought was like, who can afford to dress like that every single day? And then I started realizing why, like, you know, historically rich, white, privileged dudes inhabit Washington, D.C., where our laws are made, because apparently there's a dress code, and who the hell can afford that? But my second thought was, I don't belong down here in my jeans and my hoodie, right? And it's like we're putting ourselves in spaces with this work that we do with the door.
I just want to tell a little quick about this because earlier when I was probably out of prison about a year and a half, something like that, and I was with my wife. We were early on. I haven't. I go down to Portland to have dinner. And I'm like, I don't really go out to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't like, I didn't go to these places. You know what I mean? And I go to this restaurant. It's I think there's a front room in Portland, and it's like this, you know, kind of. I got in there like froze up, and I'm like, Randy, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here, man. And then, but after that, you know, what I did is as I said, man, I can't let this beat me. I actually think I do belong in any restaurant, whatever I want to go to. I do belong, and I started to make myself go back down.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I did. I went and got one of these pea coats from the Goodwill, and I wore it the next time. You know what I'm saying?
What color was that pea coat? Was that black, plaid? What color was it?
It was a black pea coat. It was a black pea coat.
What did you wear under the pea coat?
A turtleneck. It wasn't a turtleneck. It was, I don't know what I wanted. But, you know, and that's like sometimes we have to go through these things. And like we're always growing as human beings. And sometimes we're battling different shit. We don't, you know what I'm saying? And like the thing that the biggest lie that we tell ourselves
Is that we don't belong?
Not only that we don't belong, but also nobody else feels like us. You know what I'm saying? Like no one else understands me. No one else is gonna get me. I'm on my own. I like blah 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 blah. And then we roll that snowball down the hill. Next thing you know, where you know, I like it. I'll tell you this. Like I used to literally like, I'd come into work, and I'd walk through the hallways. I have a good relationship with people and stuff, and you know, people didn't say hi to me. I'd go down to my office and I'd freak out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I must have done something wrong. I pissed them off somehow. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, but I had to go challenge those thoughts. I have to go back and say hello to them. You know what I'm saying? That's how I have to. You know, it got a lot easier now, but you have to constantly challenge our thoughts.
Yeah.
Because what we're dealing with is trauma, and trauma tells us we don't belong to anything. We are disconnected from everything. Run, fight, flight, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff. And like our brain gets stuck there, you know what I mean? And
well, we're playing by a different set of rules too, right? And that's why we're internalizing the things we've been through and the stories that we've been told, because like when you're in prison for extended periods of time, like those things do mean different things, and you become so used to it that you come out and you've internalized all these things.
And this type of trauma, the response to this type of trauma, always it's so interesting because it's like Bruce said, I don't belong, but that's the first. Like anytime shit hits the fan, anytime something bad happens, it's the first place we go to.
Yeah,
I don't belong. I gotta go. Everybody, you know what I mean? All this stuff. It's like for some, it's like an instant thing where you're going questioning whether you belong or not, and it's really sort of I don't know. It's a hard thing to live with, man. It's a very very difficult thing to live with, and but when we can look at it as a symptom of a problem, right? Rather than I'm a scumbag fucking loser for feeling this way, you know what I mean? Which will, you know, make it. You know, it will make it worse. You know what I mean? But instead we can go, okay, this happened. I had these thoughts, but I can do something about it. You know what I mean? I can make it through it. That's what Bruce was saying a little while. You know what I mean? I made it through something. I might have learned something about myself, and that's all we can do for each other is like help each other learn about ourselves as men and women, and like how we're gonna fit in this world. You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting too because like when everything about this conversation is bringing up for me why the idea of a punitive system, a prison that is only designed to punish you and make you feel like that scumbag and labels you the scumbag and then treats you like the scumbag and then transitions you and wants you not to be the scumbag. Why it's such a broken model. It doesn't work. And like, it shouldn't be a mystery to anybody why it doesn't work, because of what both of you are saying. Like, community matters, inclusion matters, feeling worthy matters. And those are all three things that our system does not accomplish or even claim to make an effort to do at all. And so when I hear your story, Bruce, about being down there, when I think about many, many experiences I've had out here, especially in relationships, that's a whole topic for a different day, but in intimate relationships, I experienced that. I experience it in public places. I experience it in restaurants the same way that Jeremy does and did. And I think like Jeremy is 100% right, and you are as well, Bruce. Like, it takes confronting that. But look at the moment where you were able to confront it was in front of somebody you trust, who you knew cared about you, who could actually hold you accountable. And that's why our system doesn't work, because I don't know the judge. I don't know the prosecutor. I don't trust either of them. I don't know the police that arrested me. I don't want to be vulnerable in front of them. I certainly don't know or respect or want to be vulnerable in front of the correctional officers who are treating me like a monster every day of my life and dehumanizing me. And so how am I supposed to get better inside of a system that doesn't allow me to get better? And it seems like we came up with a recipe about how to get better. But I just want to transition to a different topic, because I'm sitting here with Bruce Moore and Jeremy Hiltz, who are two of the funniest people that I know, right? Every time that I'm with these guys, I'm literally laughing to the point that I'm hurting. And like, so we come up with ways to cope while we're in prison to kind of mask the shit that we're going through, right? And one of those ways is humor. I mean, I think about your turtleneck. That's hilarious. Whether you had it on or not. I pictured you in a turtleneck. It was the best thing that I've ever... I want to see you in a turtleneck now. But
I actually like the turtleneck. I really do. I like the look. I like the whole thing. I think that you would look good in a turtleneck and that blue shirt you have right there.
A turtleneck under this blue shirt?
Nice white turtleneck under the shirt.
We're going to buy one as soon as we're done with this.
With some khakis.
Ooh, khakis.
Some khakis.
Some khakis.
Or even a sweater.
I'll wear a sweater all day. The turtlenecks makes me a little uncomfortable.
The turtleneck with the sweater.
But the reason that I brought that up, as random as it seems, is like, when we're talking about that terrible environment, we do come up with defense mechanisms, and one of those things is comedy. And I'm thinking about, like, I just want to, like, I don't know if the viewers, like, skipped over this as much as we did in the conversation, but you opened up the episode kind of by talking about Bruce in his younger years, when his hair was a little bit of a different color, rubbing baby oil on himself in the rec yard of the prison, and then opening one eye to look at you. And this is a hilarious visual. And for those of you that can't see Bruce, just know that it's as glorious as you're imagining.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm thinking to myself, and Bruce, I'm wondering specifically from you, because you've been, like you said, you've done time down south, you've been in other prisons, like, and because I know you, I've known you for a pretty long time now, like, I know that you're a hilarious person, and my abdomen hurt after our DC trip because of how much we laughed. But how much, like, in your time in prison and even out here, like, how important is, like, laughing and comedy for you in terms of just, like, getting through every single day?
I think doing time up here in Maine, you can laugh all fucking day and be a fool, right? But you get down to a serious place, you don't want to be laughing all the fucking time. You know what I mean? But I think part of my life today, humor is a big part for me. I like to make people smile. You know what I mean? I might say some fucked up shit that other people don't get. But humor for me today,
Definitely do.
I really do.
There's
Right?
no might about it.
There's no question.
And my Catherine says today, she goes, "That's what I like about you, Bruce. You just say what's on your fucking mind. If it comes out good, great. If it don't, that's great too." So, but humor, I think humor probably got me through a lot of situations. Actually, you know, maybe some really serious situations. So for me, humor is really a big part of my prison sentence.
Yeah.
You know, so. And you know, and with my humor, it's like people want to hang with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, humor in prison. So
I think maybe one of the reasons too is like especially when people, I mean, funny people like pull people in, right? Like
Yeah.
I think inherently most people gravitate towards somebody with a good sense of humor, right? But I think also it's interesting to think about when somebody knows a little bit about your story and they expect you to be like this serious, like I think about Jeremy in every picture I've ever taken with him. He looks like the serious, never laughed in his life. If
That's not
one, if one eyebrow is off when you look at him, he might, he might do something. But
I hate that.
but like, and that, so when people think they have all these expectations of us as people who've been in prison, like that we're not funny and we're too serious. But I look at like the three of us that are talking right now, and then I look at the rest of our community that we're with in the room right now who are helping us with this. Like, we do a lot of laughing before, during, and after these episodes. Yeah. And I think it's important for people to understand, like, and I just want to highlight again for those of you who maybe tuned in a little bit late to this episode, the picture that Jeremy painted of Bruce, younger, lighter, baby oiled up in the sun. Yeah. It's hilarious.
I was like, I want to be like that. You know what I mean?
oh yes. Yes.
I mean, when I say it out loud, I understand why that was the first thought that you had, because I could say it 7 more times before this episode ends, and every time I would feel the exact same way. But I just, it's like it's such a random part of the conversation, but it's something that I wanted to bring up because I think that some people in our community are literally the funniest people that I know, and they've been through some of the heaviest, most ridiculous.
And it's part of the reason I really wanted Bruce to come with us and drive down there and stuff. Like, he's just funny, you know what I mean? It's like we have a good time together, you know what I mean? It's just good to see him laughing,
And when you've been through some stuff in your life and you still have the ability to have a sense of humor and you have the ability to do what Bruce, you talked about too, which is like confront your shit when it comes up and overcome it. I mean, that's just a recipe for success in life. I wish that more people who haven't been to prison had those three qualities and characteristics. And like we talked about, it takes a while to learn them sometimes, but I think about why the trip to DC was so powerful. And also, I'm just going to point out another slightly funny thing that happened is, like I said, we went down and met with Angus King. Shout out to you, Angus King, and your staff for taking the time to speak with us and actually treat us with a ton of dignity and respect and hear us and be in that moment with us when we were talking about issues that really mattered to us in our community. That was amazing. And hopefully you'll come on the podcast. We'd love to have another conversation with you about some of these things. But I'll never forget that we're sitting there talking, and I don't even know if you asked Bruce. I think he just walked into the dude's office and just started looking around, and the guy followed us in there and was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's Angus's office. And then he goes, take a picture of him. I'm going to sit at his desk.
Well, when we walked in at first, he went to his office. I go, oh no, I'm going in there. And so I got to the door and some guy was standing there. He says, no, you can't go in, right? So he came out and the first person he saw was me.
Yeah.
You're going to talk to me, right? Shook my hand, everything, told my name, but yeah, so I had to be the senator just for the moment. I had to sit in the desk.
Senator Moore.
Yeah.
Senator Moore.
Don't forget the vote.
Behind the door.
Behind the door.
Yeah.
Behind the door was Senator Moore.
It was just like the whole trip, and we're going to be talking about this more on future episodes. We're going to be talking about the significance of why we were down there, and we're going to tell some of the really specific stories that were these moments that we're kind of broadly speaking about. But I think about that whole trip, and like now hearing you talk about it as well and what it meant for you and the moment that you're at in your life and everything, it just makes it even more special for me to think about. But like, I just want to really pause and like really hope that every single person who's listening, whether you're listening to this episode the day that it drops, a year later, 10 years later in the archives, whatever the case may be, I just really want to make you understand that we brought a 250 plus pound prison door, side note, on wheels now. And we'll talk about that, about how much better it is that it's on wheels. Yeah. But we brought it we put it on the elevator at the Lincoln Memorial at 11 o'clock at night. Like, we didn't ask permission. We didn't know if we were supposed to. We didn't, we just did it because we understood that taking a picture of that prison door with the Lincoln Memorial behind it is a statement that people really need to confront about what it is that we're saying. We're not going to tell you all the time all the specifics because I think it's important for people to interpret art how it's meaningful to them. But, like, this trip was so powerful because of what we wanted to do, but then it was even more powerful because we had a beautiful community to do it with. Right. And we all went through this process together, and we all witnessed and like we bared witness to the power of this prison door in the nation's capital. We had people interested that talked to us. We had people that wanted to know more. We had people tell us their stories, and we had transformative individual experiences ourselves. Like what you're hearing from Bruce. And it's just really such a beautiful thing, man. I feel privileged to have had you down there with us, Bruce. I feel privileged to call you guys my friends to go and take this trip. And I just feel like we could talk about it endlessly, but I don't know, man. I don't know where to go from here other than to say, like, there's just so much in your story, Bruce, that I think people need to hear. I can see you too, like, getting emotional in certain parts of it as well. And I think that's important too, to let people know that that's okay, man. Like, we've been through hard shit, and we should be able to be emotional about it for when it hurts and when it heals. Right. And to see both of those sides of you today, man, like, you've been through a lot in your life, and it's a privilege to have you on here with us, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a good talk for Jeremy, Brandon.
Yeah, it was great, man.
I just want to add one more thing. On our trip back, we had some pretty good fucking laughs.
Well, you guys did something pretty cool on the way back, too. What did you do on the way back?
We stopped at Times Square for my birthday. Had
You
a
ever been
couple,
there?
long time ago, like probably in the 70s.
Or maybe the 40s?
30s.
What color was his hair in the 40s? Shimmering gold.
Green. Green. Goes from green to black to gray. No, it was a good trip, and thank you guys for having me on here.
Well, what was what was it like in Times Square for you?
Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, really busy. I didn't really know what to say. I just kept looking around. Right? And it's like these people down there, they come in groves. So, like, you're at a stoplight, and you got, like, 100 people coming by you. And then you go to the next stoplight, another 100. And then as you're on to the next stoplight, there's 100 people going by you. It's like they're like little ants everywhere. But it was cool, Of course, when I was down there in the 70s, it was nothing like it is today.
Way
Nothing
different.
Like, yeah.
What about, how did it feel for you, Bruce, to be down there? Because that's where this whole journey started for us, right? Like, it's obviously started with Jeremy getting the door, but it really understanding the power of what, Jeremy had in his possession was when we were in Times Square with the door and at the Statue of Liberty. So it's pretty cool that you got to kind of come full circle with it after doing the trip to DC and on the way back. And, like, just for the record, the door was with you guys because it was in the truck.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
Could have taken it out.
yeah. So, I think that's pretty amazing that you got to go there, especially on your birthday too, after having some transformative, experiences in DC, man. It's super cool that you guys got to have that experience on the way back. Now, Benny and I, we chose to leave at midnight and drive straight through the night, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. And it was like, my whole logic was, we're going to avoid traffic. And I swear to God on everything I love, 17 minutes into the trip, we were stuck in 45 minutes of traffic at 1 a.m. because of a car accident outside Baltimore.
Yeah.
Smooth sail.
I get up around 8 o'clock that morning.
Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that little tidbit of information. Makes me feel awesome. But yeah, I just want to say thanks again, Bruce, and I just want to say thank you, Jeremy, as well, and to the team of people that are here, and thank you to the listeners, and just I don't know. I feel super. I don't know how to describe what I'm feeling right now. I feel pretty excited. I feel a little bit emotional. I feel
I didn't know
humbled.
Driving down here to do this. Million thoughts going through my head. You know what I mean? it kind of worked out pretty good. Just kind of like flowed. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I didn't think it was going to be, I was going to be like stuck on what I was going to say. I didn't know what I was going to say. Or I kind of got to watch what I am going to say. So
No, you wouldn't be Bruce Moore if you did that.
that's fucking true. But yeah, thanks for having me on this. It turned out good.
Absolutely. Keep tuning in, everybody. We got new episodes dropping. We got more episodes coming. We're just going to continue telling the stories and pushing the envelope and making the changes. So big love to everybody who's listening.